प्रधानमंत्री जस्टिन ट्रूडो ने टोरंटो विच वर्करां ਅਤੇ ਵਲੰਟੀਅਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਸਨੇ ਘੋਸ਼ਣਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਉਸਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਟੋਰੰਟੋ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਅਤੇ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ 4 ਸੁਰੱਖਿਅਤ ਸਪਲਾਈ ਪਾਇਲਟ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਉਣ ਲਈ $3.5 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਦਾ ਨਿਵੇਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਾਨਸਿਕ ਸਿਹਤ ਦੇ ਸੰਘੀ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਵੀ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਰਹੇ।
So today, we're investing $3.5 million to extend 4 safer supply pilot projects in Vancouver, Victoria, and Toronto, including the Safer Opioid Supply Program here at the Parkdale Queen West Community Health Centre. As workers in community health centres know, these projects are important because they help reduce the risk of overdose by using prescribed medications as an alternative to toxic illegal drugs. They're also important because they can connect people who use drugs to other health and social services. We know that there's a whole ecosystem we have to build, that being there to provide one service means being able to engage with all the other services that are so often needed by people suffering with addictions. And that's where the work you do on the front lines and the support you have on a way into their lives is so incredibly important as well, so we can help them.
NDP ਆਗੂ ਜਗਮੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਵੱਲੋਂ ontario ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਾਰਪੋਰੇਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਵਾਧੂ ਜਾਇਦਾਦ ਟੈਕਸ ਦੀ ਮੰਗ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਮਤਾ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਯੋਜਨਾ ਬਾਰੇ ਚਰਚਾ ਕੀਤੀ। ਜਗਮੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੱਧਦੀ ਲਾਗਤ ਨਾਲ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵਿਤ ਹੋਏ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ।
So today we're talking about the cost of living, and what we've heard from so many people is that it's getting harder and harder to make ends meet. We're seeing the cost of everything go up. The cost of groceries, the cost of bills, the cost of gasoline. Costs are going up and people are struggling. And I want to be clear, when cost of living goes up, governments have a responsibility to act. They shouldn't just sit back and let it happen. They've got to do something to help people out. Particularly when we know the cost of living goes up, we know that there are some people that end up hurting, working class people, families. They hurt when the price of things go up. But we also know that there's corporations that benefit off the cost of living going up. We know that large corporations in the oil and gas sector, large corporate grocery stores are benefiting from the cost of living going up. And what they're doing is they're exploiting a difficult situation. They're exploiting a war, they're exploiting a pandemic, and they're exploiting the inflation. And so at that moment, it's when government needs to step up and stop companies from exploiting people or making excess profits off the backs of people. And that's why our plan is to tax the excess profits of these large corporations of 3% of their profits over $1 billion. There is a plan, this is a plan proposed by the Liberals to apply to banks and insurance companies. So we want to force, first of all, the Liberals to honor their promise to tax large banks and insurance companies, but to expand that to include corporate grocery stores as well as oil and gas companies. We believe government has to step up and ensure that these large corporations aren't exploiting people, make sure they pay their fair share and reinvest that to support people. Today we have Lisa and Varsha who are going to share their stories of how the cost of living going up is impacting them. These are the people that we want to help. We believe that we can do something about this, that government can act in a way to make life easier for people who are right now struggling with the cost of living.
ontario ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈਕ ਡੇਜ਼ ਆਇਲਜ਼ ਮਾਈਨ ਵਿਖੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਡਗ ਫੋਰਡ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਡਗ ਫੋਰਡ ਨੇ ਸੂਬੇ ਦੀ ਨਾਜ਼ੁਕ ਖਣਿਜ ਮਾਈਨਿੰਗ ਰਣਨੀਤੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਤੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਉਦੇਸ਼ ontario ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਨਾਲ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕੀਤੇ ਨਾਜ਼ੁਕ ਖਣਿਜਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਸ਼ਵ ਵਿਆਪੀ ਸਪਲਾਇਰ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ। ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਡਗ ਫੋਰਡ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੂਬਾਈ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਵਿਕ ਫੇਡਲ ਅਤੇ ਨਾਲ-ਨਾਲ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਮਾਈਨਿੰਗ ਉਦਯੋਗ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਤੀਨਿਧ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੋਏ।
Friends, our government has a plan for growing a stronger economy. An economy that works for everyone, and it's a plan that's training more people to the skilled trades. It's a plan that will attract investment to create good jobs in our auto and mining manufacturing sectors. It's a plan that's connecting resource industries and workers in Northern Ontario to the future of clean steel and electric vehicles. And it's a plan that's building roads, bridges, and highways, expanding subways and public transit, and constructing more homes, all for a growing province. Our plan is building all of Ontario. And the cornerstone of that plan is happening right here in the north. Global businesses are searching for the materials, expertise, and human power needed to build technologies of the future. And I'm here to say, once again, look no further. That's why I'm so excited today to release our government's critical mineral strategy. It's a 5-year roadmap to expand extraction of the critical minerals that are now in high demand, minerals that Ontario has in abundance. This strategy details how we'll strengthen our supply chains, how we'll attract new investments to our province, and how we will ensure that the economic benefits are fairly shared with our Indigenous partners. A prime example is building the car of the future. Automakers all over the world are ramping up production of battery-driven electric vehicles. As everyone knows, Ontario has been a leader in North America's auto manufacturing industry for 100 years. And where the minerals come from for the batteries is right here in the north. And our government is working day in and day out to keep us leading the way for the next 100 years. Just yesterday, Honda Canada announced a $1.4 billion investment to retool their plant in Alliston to make hybrids, which builds on the past game-changing investments like the $1.8 billion Ford Canada is investing into its Oakville assembly complex to produce battery electric vehicles. And again, where the minerals coming from for those batteries right here in the north. As we secure these investments, we're connecting industries, resources, and workers in the north to the future of electric vehicles and batteries. As we also connect our growing auto sector to the clean steel being produced not too far away at Algoma in Sault Ste. Marie and Dofasco and Hamilton. Together, we're connecting homegrown industries of the future right here in Ontario, and there's no better place to do so. We have the natural resources, we have the best workers on the absolute planet right here, and we're creating the conditions for companies to invest and jobs to flourish.
ਸਿਹਤ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਅਤੇ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਉਮਰ ਅਲਗਬਰਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਐਲਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਪੂਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਟੀਕਾਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਯਾਤਰੀਆਂ ਲਈ ਆਪਣੀ ਪੂਰਵ ਆਗਮਨ ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਟੈਸਟਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨੂੰ ਖਤਮ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਾਖਲ ਹੋਣ ਲਈ ਯਾਤਰੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੀ ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ ਦਿਖਾਉਣੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਅਗਲੇ ਮਹੀਨੇ ਤੋਂ ਉਹ ਯਾਤਰੀ ਜੋ ਪੂਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਟੀਕਾਕਰਨ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਟੈਸਟਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ।
Effective April 1st, 2022, fully vaccinated travelers will no longer be required to complete a pre-entry test for travel to Canada. Fully vaccinated travelers may still continue to undergo random testing upon entry to Canada, but they are no longer required to quarantine while awaiting their results. Unvaccinated and partially vaccinated travelers will continue to be tested with COVID-19 molecular tests on arrival and on day 8 while they quarantine for 14 days. All travelers are also required to complete ArriveCan online or through the free mobile app before entry to Canada.
It is a great day for Canadian travelers, tourism, and aviation, that we would adjust our border measures based on public health recommendation. And that is exactly what we are doing today. I also want to highlight what removing pre-entry testing will mean for cruise ship travelers when the season starts in early April. Passengers on a cruise will need to take an antigen test no more than 1 day before the scheduled departure, but will no longer be required to be tested before getting off the cruise ship. All other aspects of the public health framework for cruises that I announced last week in Halifax, such as the requirement to be vaccinated in order to board, will remain in place. As Minister Duclos noted, the revised border measures we're announcing today are possible thanks to the millions of Canadians who have stepped up, rolled up their sleeves, and gotten vaccinated.
ਬਰਲਿੰਗਟਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਨੇ ਛੋਟੇ ਮੋਡਿਊਲਰ ਰਿਐਕਟਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਮਰਥਨ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ $27.2 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਦੇ ਨਿਵੇਸ਼ ਦਾ ਐਲਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ। ਇਹ ਫੰਡ ਵੈਸਟਿੰਗ ਹਾਊਸ ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰਿਕ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਮਾਈਕਰੋ ਰਿਐਕਟਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਦਾ ਸਮਰਥਨ ਕਰਨਗੇ। ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਕਰੀਨਾ ਗੋਲਡ ਅਤੇ ਵੈਸਟਿੰਗ ਹਾਊਸ ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰਿਕ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦੇ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੋਏ।
So I'm really delighted to announce, and I want to give the credit to Minister Gould, to Pam Damore, us together that allows us today to say that we are going to be investing more than $27 million to support Westinghouse to advance their eVinci SMR technology in Canada. And for those who are expert, but those watching at home, the eVinci is basically a nuclear reactor that you put in a container. So if you think about transportability, if you think about, in a way, plug and play, that it's easy to use and it's safe to use and it's reliable and responsible, that looks like the technology of the future. So it's obviously good news for the 200 workers of Westinghouse. It's certainly good news for Burlington and the Alton region. And I would think it's really good news for all these remote communities in Canada who are looking to move out of diesel. So I think many of you have seen that over the last 2 years at least, we've been presented with two existential challenges. I mean, one is COVID-19, and I think that science, technology, and innovation has demonstrated already that we can find breakthrough solutions for humanity. We've seen it with a COVID vaccine, and we've been able, with my colleagues, to make sure, and with our government and the Prime Minister, to ensure the health and safety of Canadians. But if I look beyond that, there's another big existential threat to our nation and to humanity, which is climate change. And there again, I think science, technology, and innovation will provide the breakthrough solution. And why I'm so happy to be with you and so many distinguished guests which are with us is that we realize that what we're talking about here this morning has the potential to be one of these breakthrough solutions that the world is needing, not only for Canada in remote locations as we're trying to green supply chain, but I think to the world, and that's really where Canada can play a place. And you have seen that not only we want to ensure a greener future to our children, but my ambition as Minister of Industry is that we lead in the green industrial transformation, not only here in Canada, but around the world. And with technologies like the one we're doing here, we have the potential to do that. And everyone knows, and I was reminded with Mr. Gould, the CANDU reactor. I used to go in Korea and South Korea in my previous life before politics, and Canada was known for the CANDU reactor. So we have that reputation of reliability, of quality, of responsible use of nuclear energy. And I know we were together in Paris to celebrate that, so it's great to be here. Canada became the second country ever to produce nuclear power. And that really struck me that there's not that many things that we can say as Canada have the badge of honor that we were the second in the world, but in fact we were the second to produce nuclear power. So this began a lasting legacy of excellence in our country that we can build upon. And what I'm so inspired, and I want to thank the management team and Peter, who was so proud to introduce us the next generation of people who are going to continue that great tradition, because everything we do is about talent, and it's about the people. We all know that building a factory is somewhat easy these days, but to get the talent, to get the people, to get them interested in nuclear technology in the future is quite something.